Time. The Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Tammy Sharp, you have someone to do that for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In honor of summer law this weekend, I have asked our attorney, Mr. Jeff Reed, to come forward and do the pledge, and he was honored to do so. Thank you, Mr. Reed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'd like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. I'll direct the attention of the board to the agenda. Are there any questions or comments? I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Our agenda is approved. I now will direct your attention to the consent agenda. I'll give you a brief moment to flip through. Are there any changes or questions on the consent agenda? There are none. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Our agenda is approved. We have one person to come forward for public comment, Ms. Karen Elaine Covington. Hey. Ms. Covington, those lights in front of you tell you your time management. When it turns green, you can talk, and you have 3 minutes, and it'll give you a little hint when you're about to run out of time, okay?
Start automatically?
We got you right there, okay?
All right.
There you go.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Karen Elaine Covington, and I'm here to speak to you today on the character of Mr. Jeremy Sager, who is the CEO and lead founder of Novus Smart Academy. I came to know Mr. Sager through my employer, Boys and Girls Club, as I am the volunteer resource coordinator there. Mr. Sager wanted to give back to the Rutherford County community. In our initial interview and conversation, we quickly agreed that he would be helpful in our education department. Long story short, Mr. Sager committed his time and talent once a week assisting our K through 12th grade members with their homework and tutoring needs. He was personable, relatable, and patient with our members, and that was from day one. Mr. Sager showed up faithfully and got our members excited about doing their homework assignments, and on occasions I would hear him say to them, "Just be patient with yourself." He single-handedly coined the name the Homework Club, which I heard members asking, is the Homework Club open? Which is music to my ears as I am an advocate for learning. Mr. Sager is an honorable person. He utilizes his gifts and talents to help build the next generation. He is experienced, hands-on, and patient, yet driven. He is a 6-foot gentle giant who is determined to be a catalyst for the kids of Rutherford County to unlock their full potential. I believe he gained some insight with the boys over at Boys and Girls Club. I thank you very much for your time, and God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Covington. We appreciate that. Number 7, Rutherford Proud.
All right, first we have Coach Martin from Siegel High School, who I would like to ask to come up here and introduce a little bit about the accolades that one of our students received. We talked about him at our last board meeting, but he wasn't with us, so we are glad to have you here, if you'd introduce him as well.
Thank you. Rich, this was his junior year at Siegel High, and he won the Boys AA, which is the large division tennis championship. This is after he finished runner-up his sophomore year and lost in the quarterfinals his freshman year. So it's a nice progression. I am aware of only one other male who has won state from Murfreesboro. That was Kyle Wishing, who was also a Siegel graduate. So it does not happen very often, and it's a pretty major accomplishment in my mind. And I've been around and been fortunate enough to coach a number of really good athletes and very successful. And Rich is certainly up there. He is entertaining a number of offers for all different levels, and I'm sure when he makes his decision, he'll let us all know.
Thank you. Is Rich here?
Yes.
Bring him up, please. Come on up, Rich. Do I have to say anything, right? Is that what you're saying? We wanted everybody to see what you look like. Congratulations, son.
And if you will, if you'll just stay for a couple moments, once we introduce our next Rutherford Proud representative, we'll have our state champions go outside, and we have a substitute reporter photographer tonight. Dr. Chastain is hired for the task, and she'll take a picture of everybody, and we'll give you a break in just a second. All right, next, Dr. Jessica Jackson, the principal at Blackman Middle School, is going to introduce her coaches and kind of go from there.
Thank you. Tonight we'd just like to recognize our Blackman Middle School track team. Overall, our boys finished first in the state, and our girls finished third in the state, but we also had some individual state champions. So I'm going to let Coach Cooper and Coach Carrazzo come up and introduce those individual athletes, and we just are excited for them and all of the work that they put in. Several of them will be headed to high school here very shortly. I'm amazed by how much they look like they've grown since I saw them just a month or two ago. So we're excited to see what all they can do and what their future holds. So they're a very talented group. So coaches, come on up.
My name is Janet Cooper. I'm the head coach at Blackman Middle. This is Nick Carozza. He's the assistant. We would like to recognize, I'm going to have to see if I can see all their faces, DeMarcus Van Zant. Come on up. Bryson Mitchell. Come on up. Micah. Max Curry, Jason Thompson, Giovanni Malone, Felipe Tavares, Jaden Hawkins, I got Caden Billups, Travis Greer. No, Tyson Williams. I'm sorry, I always got it. Missouri Johnson, Joy Henley, Cadence Mathis, Rihanna Mathis, Jayla Kiles, who couldn't be with us here tonight, and Daniel Hernandez. Did I miss anyone? They're all kind of spread out, so I want to make sure I didn't miss any of them. All right, so this group of boys right here, I just want to brag on them a little bit because they made a clean sweep this year. They won first in the Rutherford County Championship. They won first in subsectionals. They won first in sectionals, and they are your state champions. And this group of girls right here, like I said, we're missing a few, but they made some pretty phenomenal accomplishments this year, again placing third in the state overall.
So first place winners, we have Maximus Curry for long jump. The boys 4x100 meter relay, we have Gio Malone, we have Micah Nance, Bryson Mitchell, and Maximus Curry. For the girls 4x100 meter relay, we have Joy Henley.
Come on, Joy.
Cadence Mathis, Rihanna Mathis, and Jayla Kyles.
And that's all we have. Ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen, this is your Blackman Middle School
Yes.
track team.
We're going to give them a minute to step out into the lobby because we want to get some pictures. Mr. LaLance, you need to also go out there with them. I wanted to ask, but I thought I'm not going to embarrass him but Rich, it's probably Rich. Don't you think? I know. We'll have to ask. Amy LaLance. It's not. We're not on. Just give us a moment. We having a bit of technical difficulty here. Yeah, let's tell Wes. Go ahead. We have a guest speaker.
Wes, if you want to go ahead and come up and get set up while we're getting that going.
Okay, yeah.
Got a whole file.
If it's
Oh, thank you.
not working,
Thank you, John. We got it.
Yeah, we got it.
We got it. John got it on.
We have Wes Dozier here with us from Gallagher to go over some of our insurance options. As I mentioned last night, no decision needs to be made by the board. This is just going over state insurance rates, what we look at as a county, and then we will move from there to either make a motion for insurance rates at the last August meeting or the first September meeting to be able to meet open enrollment. So, Wes?
Well, thank you all. It's a little tough to follow up the feel-good from the state championships. I am here to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is insurance premiums. So many of y'all will remember me from last year, so just a quick intro for me. My name is Wes Dozier. I work with Gallagher. I'm an insurance consultant. I've spent the last 20 years specifically in public sector for Tennessee, working with school districts from one side of the state to the other. So why don't we go a couple of slides ahead and just jump right into the meat, to the disclaimers slide. This slide right here, again, is just to kind of build a little bit of credibility. Again, who is Gallagher? Who am I? Gallagher was founded in 1927, so we're almost coming up on our 100-year anniversary. We've got over 1,200 offices across the United States, but locally, Marissa Cohn-Smith, head up the public sector office here in Tennessee. And one of our distinctions that we're very proud of is for 13 years running, we've been named Ethisphere's world's most ethical companies. So that's something insurance people can get a bad rap, but we try to do the best thing. So if we want to go forward a couple of slides to the disclaimers. All right. I mentioned a second ago, we work with 85 school districts out of the 146 that are there. So it's approximately 60% of the schools across the state. The reason I start with that and the reason I think it's important is because we have a lot of experience. And, with groups, most of our groups are on the state health plan. So just being familiar with the insurance arena, different contribution strategies, having open conversations with that many of them allow us to have a good knowledge base for what the other school districts across the state of Tennessee are doing. Again, our role with Rutherford County Schools, how we get compensated is actually the broker and the consultant on the voluntary insurance plans. So Gallagher does not represent the state in any way. Whatever decisions y'all end up making at the end of the day, one way or the other, don't affect my role. I don't really have anything to do with it. I'm just here sharing my expertise. The analysis is by request. This is something that we offer to all of our groups. So the only groups that we do this for are the groups that ask us to share that expertise. And then again, our main goal in all of this really is just to do that, just to provide advice on what we're seeing across the state, specifically for y'all's numbers, and to make sure that y'all have the information you need to stay within budget when it comes to the medical analysis. Okay. Just a few assumptions that we have here. When putting all this together, there are reports from the state that provide the participation numbers. Obviously, when you're talking about budget, there's two important things. There's, what is the contribution amount that Rutherford County contributes towards the cost of the plan, and then what plans and what networks are the employees participating in. So we use the state reports to create these. On the HSA contribution, Rutherford County contributes $50 towards the employee-only HRA, $100 towards the family and dependent tiers. Those numbers are included in the analysis. And then I'll get to this on the next slide, which is the high-level budget slide. There's an assumption that's not clearly defined, which is when we're talking about potentially creating a difference between the base network and the expanded network, we used what we call a proportional increase for the base network, which is to take the same percentage that Rutherford County is paying now towards the cost of the insurance. The state had an increase this year, an aggregate of roughly 5.8, 5.9%. So it's taking the same percentage that Rutherford County is currently paying, but then looking at the new 2025 rate and applying the same percentage. So basically, the overwhelming majority of the increase is covered in that scenario by the Rutherford County, with the employees picking up proportionately their increase. So the next slide that we'll get to, really, this is the high-level budget slide. The slides that follow this, and we'll get into those in a moment, are rate charts. So this is for y'all from a budget perspective, just looking at that level. And then the next charts are for each one of these scenarios. We've given the employee rate charts, what they're currently paying for 2024, and what they would be paying in 2025 under all of these scenarios. And the last thing I'll say before I get into the numbers themselves is we could model out 100 different scenarios. So if the scenario that if you're not seeing something out of these, that doesn't mean that these are the only choices. We can model out different options. These were just a few that we narrowed it down to for conversation's sake. Would also be the reason why there's no vote. Nobody's being asked to vote on anything. So the very first row, once you get past the dark shaded blue row, this is basically our baseline. Okay, so when we pull the data, it's a snapshot in time of the current participation that was pulled a couple of months ago to get started. Of course, this number fluctuates, but it doesn't fluctuate that much. As employees leave, the new employees who come on, they don't always take the same coverage, but by and large, the snapshot in time is pretty relevant. So across the top, this is the current 2024 participation. In the first column on the left, you'll see the name of the plan, but as you go from left to right, The insurance cost, so the total cost before it's split up for the medical plan, is right at $63,772,000. I'll leave off the rounding just because throwing too many numbers that are out there. So of the total cost, because of the HSA contribution that we talked about, there's an additional $1.26 million that's being contributed on Rutherford County's part to the employees that participate in the high deductible health plan with the HSA. So the total plan spend is just over $65 million total before we get into the split between the employer and the employees. So out of the $65 million, we have, man, I need to get a new prescription. I'm glad I have it in my hands. The employees pay just over $10 million of that split. So $10,051,000, with Rutherford County paying roughly $55 million, so just shy of $55 million. So the total percentage that's covered by Rutherford County Schools is 84.54%, so just shy of 85% of the premium is what the school board picks up currently. In the first scenario, we've modeled out what it would look like from a budget perspective if Rutherford County absorbed 25% of the rate increase. So just across the board, we took the amount, the difference between last year and this year, and we had Rutherford County picking up 25% of that. In that scenario, as you run across, of course, that would increase the employee portion to about $12,700,000. The employer portion would also increase to $55 million, almost $56 million. Rutherford County in this scenario would still be covering almost 82% of the premium, so that would have about an $884,000 impact to the budget, and that would be about a 1.6% increase to the budget. The next scenario is if Rutherford County passed on the increase from the state to the employees. So of course, the difference in budget is pretty simple. It's a 0% impact, but that would have an impact with the employees' rates coming to about $13.5 million. And then the last scenario, this is the scenario where currently Rutherford County actually pays more towards the cost of people that participate in the P and the S network. So just kind of a refresher on the state plan. The state plan has 4 different plans. They have the Premier, the Standard, the Limited, and the High Deductible Health Plan. Then they use 2 different carriers that employees can choose between for the network options. So they can either choose between Blue Cross and Blue Shield or between Cigna. And both Blue Cross and Cigna have a base network, but they also have an expanded network. Obviously, the base network is lower on cost. The expanded network is a little bit more. The way that the current premiums are set up, there's very little cost differential between the S and the P networks. So the people that do choose P, Rutherford County is picking up considerably more on the people that are in the P. They're paying more for those employees than they're paying for the S. What we see across the state by and large is that most groups do base what their contribution strategy is going to be. They base that off of the base plans, so the S and the local plus networks. So this particular strategy was saying we are going to proportionately split the rate increase on the base plans. However, we're going to use that same dollar amount, and if employees choose to pay up to the P or the expanded, the open access network, then the employees would just pay the difference between that instead of Rutherford County contributing more for those folks than the others. So those, again, are the different scenarios. We can model out different scenarios than that, but those kind of just give you a flavor of, from a budget impact, where that would fall. So the very last one that I didn't mention like the others, you see there across that the total cost of the plan in 2025 would be estimated at about $68.5 million. That last strategy, if that was employed, that would actually save the county about $2.8 million. Well, I will pause there. I did a whole lot of talking in just a few minutes. So far, does anybody have any questions or comments about what I've gone over?
I have a question. Thank you. The buy-up, is that what you're referencing with the PNS network paying the difference?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the last scenario was the one that I was referencing as the buy-up, if you will.
And that's the one that you're saying will save us $2 million?
Roughly, that would actually save the budget $2.8 million.
$2.8 million.
And again,
Ms. Sharp.
go ahead.
We have a couple
Yes,
of
ma'am.
questions, Wes. Ms. Sharp. Yes, it does. No, it includes Vanderbilt.
Stonecrest.
TriStar. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, and again, keep in mind that I'm not representing the state health plan or Blue Cross or Cigna. My focus on this particular analysis is just about the numbers. Like, it's just the budget perspective of it. So Blue Cross, the state does offer both Blue Cross and Cigna, and they offer both the base network and the expanded network. So between the two networks, there are choices for all of the hospitals. But on the base network, sometimes there are, it's narrower on the provider list, where the P network is more, I say the P or the open access is more expansive. Stonecrest was a consideration when it came to that.
It is in the base.
Well, sorry, just for clarity's sake, I have not been studying the networks myself. I've been focused on the numbers. So who is and is in the P or the base networks and the expanded networks, that's something that's available on the state websites.
We will have a committee that will examine all of that. But I do know that Stonecrest is in, because my daughter just had gallbladder surgery there, and so I know. Mr. Tidwell?
Just for clarity's sake, the last option here that we've been referring to, the base plan, basically RCS is paying for the base plan, and then there's an option for those that want to pay up for a more premium plan.
Correct. Under that particular scenario, when you look at the state plan before the premiums are split up at all, the insurance plans themselves, so like the Premier, the Standard, the Limited, and the CDHP, the benefits on all of those plans are exactly the same. Network just drives, who's in and out of network. But when you look at the total cost, the expanded networks do cost more than the base network. And in one of the last slides, the very last one that's after all the rate charts that's on here, there are absolutely circumstances where people do need the expanded networks, right? So I'm not discounting that at all. However, I think that a lot of people in the schools are participating in the expanded networks because they think that it's better coverage. The coverage is the same coverage. It's the same providers. It's just that, the expanded plans cost more because they have more people in the network. So there are people that absolutely need that, but I think that there's a lot of people, if you looked at the doctors, if they looked at who am I going to see, what facilities do I want to go to, they actually are already going in the base networks. They're not even going to the places that are out of network. So potentially, as a consultant who's just looking at the numbers, there may be people that are doing the expanded plans because they think that it's better coverage. They just assume that and they're going with the ones that cost more. So there is a cost savings opportunity, but I do know that also comes at can come at the people that need the expanded network in this scenario would pay more for that.
Ms. Darby?
Have you ever had anyone that with their participation, instead of it kind of fluctuating on a percentage basis, ever does it on like a flat, we're going to contribute X amount per every employee?
We have seen that before. That would be what they call a defined contribution. Instead of the percentage-based amount, again, the state gives you guys the leeway to do with your contribution strategy what you will, short of a couple of guidelines like making sure you contribute at least a minimum of 45% for all plans, all tiers. But they let you split that up. So by and large, most groups are using percentages, but there are some groups that say from a budget perspective, hey, for individual coverage, I will contribute X number of dollars. For dependent coverage, anything above that, then we will contribute this much, and then the employees pay the difference. So we do see that from time to time. It's much easier to budget when you do that. Typically, you just need to know how many people are in employee only, how many people are in family, and then you say this is the amount of money that's dedicated towards that. So it is simpler from a budgeting perspective.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Are those all our questions? Okay, Wes, you want to continue?
Well, from here, really, I think the information on the next slides, it's all numbers. So, of course, the high level is looking at the budget. So what's the total cost, and what did we put in our budget? What are we trying to do with our budget? As you go to the next slides, I think those will be ones that you'll just want to review after the fact. Right. So we can walk through and just kind of tell you the structure of these next slides and the way that they're positioned. So if you'll go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking up there. I told you I needed glasses. Better prescriptions. So as you walk through the different scenarios, 25%, the passing on the increase, and then the proportional with creating the differential, you'll see how many people are enrolled in each one of the plans. So that's the very first column. The first one, the rate chart that you come through, would be the base network. So whether it's Blue Cross or Cigna, it doesn't matter. The base network is the same. And then you have the 2024 premium. Now keep in mind, everything that I do from a chart perspective is monthly, so times 12. Rutherford County, I believe, has the 10 deductions, so that it's different. But we annualize the difference anyway on the far right-hand column so that you can see. So for each one of these scenarios, we're taking the 24 premium, and we're saying if you went with this scenario in 2025, this would be the monthly cost. The next column over would be the difference between the two, so how much more would the employees pay under each one of these scenarios, and then the last column would be what is the annual difference between those. So the first two charts are the 25% scenario, the base and the buy-up. The second two charts are the pass on the increase, the base and the buy-up, and then the last one is the proportional rate increase on the base plan, and then the buy-up. So if we do want to look or zero in on one in particular, if you did look at the base networks on the proportional, you'll see that one from the base network actually has the least amount of impact for the people that are participating in the base networks at least. All right. So without killing you with every single numbers, I think that y'all probably appreciate being able to look at them on your own time. I'm happy to come back. I'm happy to model out anything different or answer any questions for y'all after the fact as well. Like I said, in the very back is a concise rate chart that has the total participation as well. So just appreciate y'all. And, let me know if you need anything else. All right, does anybody have any questions before I step down?
I have a request. Obviously, I'm retired. I am on the county plan at the present time, but we do have retiree participants for the state. We need something that tells them what's going on. So if you could do that, because Rutherford County is very, very generous to their retirees, and I'm very proud of them, but they do take care of their retirees. So we're going to need one more sheet.
Okay.
But by the time we have an insurance committee, there will be someone on that is retired and will want to spread the news.
Absolutely.
Thank
We
you.
know that's a consideration,
Thank you.
so we can
Thank you.
put that on there.
Anyone else? Yes, sir?
We talked about this last year from a financial standpoint. Of course, we want to cover as much as we possibly can. We are not in the position to be able to add funding to insurance of what it already is. And so somewhere between the past 100% to the state proportional, if we're trying to rein in costs, has to be the angle. From my perspective, we have to start going down to be able to get insurance costs somewhat in line. As we've talked about, it is over 10% of our budget. I'm one that will obviously pay for the buy-up, but if it wasn't for some of our family's needs for certain doctors, we'd be perfectly fine even with our extensive needs on the standard one. So I think it's an education standpoint. I'd, again, love to be able to cover all of it. We only have a limited amount of funds that we can use to be able to put towards benefits and salary, and we have that $50,000 starting salary teacher deadline that is staring us in the face in 26, 27 that we have to use our additional funds to get to.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Number 9, instruction.
All right, instruction. Mr. McCann presented yesterday on the Novus Smart Academy presentation. I don't know if Mr. Reed, if you wanted to come up as well. We've done this several times. You have a motion to either approve the Novus Smart Academy application or to deny the Novus Smart Academy application. I believe these have to be done by resolution. Is that correct?
Correct. Of course, you had the presentation from yesterday. If the board decides to approve the amended application, you have to do that by resolution. So you have one resolution approving the amended charter school application. If you decide to deny the amended application, you have to do that by resolution as well. So you have a second resolution denying approval of the application. And in the event you do deny the amended application, you do have to state reasons for the denial, such as the negative physical impact on the school system, academic plan concerns, operation plan concerns, financial plan concerns, one of those rubric type items that you have seen so much stuff about on it. So if you do decide you want to deny it, you should incorporate into your motion the reasons for that denial.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Mr. McCann, could you come up just in case somebody has any questions? Does anybody have any questions left over from last night or anything else that you need to ask Mr. McCann from last night? We went over everything and discussed and talked about it, so I just want to make sure everybody has asked what they want to ask. Oh, called you up for nothing, sir. I'm so sorry. I figured there'd be at least a question or two. So, at this point, I will entertain a motion. I will remind the person, whoever decides to do the motion, you either have to put into the motion to approve the Novus Smart Academy or to deny the Novus Smart Academy application. So I will now entertain a motion.
Ms. Broughton?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I guess if there's a second, I will discuss.
So, Mr. Tidwell did make a motion to, and Ms. Sharp, was that you that second? Okay. We will do a roll call vote. This is to, oh, do we have more discussion?
Can I make a point?
Yes, you certainly may.
Okay, Ms. Bratton. I'm school choice, but I'd just like to remind the board about a couple different things. One of the things is, remember, and I know there's some issues, and we are working with the state on trying to get some of those worked out on the funding portion. I get that, but we need to also put in perspective that a lot of these students could be growth students, and that is buildings we don't have to build. They're providing their own buildings. Another thing to think about is that if we were to deny it, even if you were against charter schools and you were to make a denial here and it was to get approved at the state, guess what? We don't have any jurisdiction over that anymore. They still got approved. They still get the funding. They still get everything, but they don't have to and are not required to communicate with us. Now, RCPA, as I understand, is doing that on their own free will. But I think that's another consideration to make whenever making your decision today.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Darby?
I'd just like to say, I know when this was brought up before, we denied and asked them to update their application with some changes and some more information. And Mr. McCann reported that they did do all of that to a satisfactory level. And I just want to say I appreciate y'all going back and taking another look at that and fulfilling what we requested of you. So thank you for that.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Young?
I have never voted in support of a charter school. It's not that I'm against charter schools. It's not that I don't believe in parents' choice. I believe in all those things. The problem is we have a structure here that we don't know how it's going to affect us physically when it comes to funding these schools. And we've already got 3 right now that we're having to deal with. We need to pump the brakes on this and look at what the cost is going to be from charter schools, because nobody really knows the true fallout. And we just need to be careful here.
Anyone else have a? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sharp?
Since obviously, since I seconded, I'm in favor of this charter school. It is in my district, and we are short of land on the north end. We're short of land everywhere, and as long as we continue not to purchase land, we're going to have to depend on charter schools to come in because they can build faster than we can, they can buy faster than we can, and they can get started up before we can get land purchased.
We don't need any comments. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you. I'm very concerned about Arbortown and the 11,000 homes that are coming in there. We're already controlling and have shut off enrollment at Stewart's Creek Elementary. We've already done a rezoning for Roy Waldron. And that neighborhood is coming in just right across the street on 24. So we have to do something. We have to do something. We have to have somewhere to put these students. And we already have students that are in the closets and nooks and crannies and everything else. That restricts their learning environment. So, you know, I'm sorry I'm going to upset some people, but I've got to think about those kids.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I understand exactly what Ms. Sharp is saying. We have a uncontrolled growth going on in this county. But it's time for our planning commission, and it's time for the school board, and it's time for our planning commission to work together, and let's have some controlled growth. Let's slow this thing down. That's how we get students in classrooms and get them in seats. We have just turned these guys loose, and they're building things faster than we can build schools for. I don't care if you do bring in charter schools in, you're still going to have students wanting to go to public schools, and they're not going to have anywhere to sit.
Anyone else? All right. Would you repeat your motion, please, Mr. Tidwell?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to make a motion to approve the Novus Smart Academy.
Thank you, and it was seconded by Ms. Sharp. I will have a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Darby?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell?
No.
Ms. Sharp?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales?
Abstain.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton?
No.
So you have 3, and abstain.
The motion fails. Mr. McCann?
Mr. Reed, we don't have a no or a yes.
I don't know if the board can make other motions, so if the board wants to make other motions, you can see where you get with the other motions on it.
Don't you have to have a majority?
You have
To
to have a
pass it.
majority vote. So if you
We
have
did
a
not
motion to
have a
deny it,
majority.
you would still have to have a majority vote to deny it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And of course, in the event you don't take any action either way, it is deemed to be approved. So if you don't have enough votes to deny it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
motion that we deny based on the physical impact it will cause Rutherford County.
We have a new motion. Do I have a second?
Second, sadly, I sat on the board for this, and I respect Dr. Sager, and I respect what you're trying to do, but until we get this funding worked out, we've got to always save grace to what we've got right now.
I will say I've received over 60 community emails asking us to deny this. I've not answered them, and I'm sorry. I will answer them, but I have received over 60 emails from the community. I think that needs to go on record.
Ms. Bratton?
Yes.
I don't want to deny a charter school because I do believe in parental choice, but at the same time, we have to look at fiscal impact that is causing right now. And there's some of us here who are ready to fight and get the mechanism fixed. And there's some of us who are not even up to par to move forward. There was a motion to look at things of what we can and cannot do legally, and that was not passed. If we are serious about fixing this funding mechanism, then we've got to be serious as elected officials to do our job and do what is right to protect the assets of what we're called to do here in Rutherford County so that everyone can have a choice of where to go to school. And yesterday, we had a letter that was read by Dr. Sullivan from the State Department explaining the funding. And either way, regardless, at the end of the day, we're having to share the dollars based on enrollment that was the year before. And right now, we're growing at a rate of 1,200 new students every single year. And we can say that bringing charter schools is going to help with that, but it's not going to alleviate the fact that we're still going to need the funding for the extra additional amount of kids that are coming that we're not going to get funding for. I want to emphasize that I do believe in parental choice, but at this time, we got to do what is right and protect our assets and get this funding fixed so that we can be able to bring other outside entities to come and help with our situation. But with the funding the way it is, it's not a fair mechanism for Rutherford County schools right now.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I will say that I have met with some of our state reps and the TDOE in regards to funding, and I did speak with Dr. Sullivan about it just briefly last night as well. And there are definitely some questions about funding. A lot of it, I think, is perspective-based. It is extremely complex and detailed and goes into a whole lot more than I can get to during this meeting. But I would welcome anyone to give myself a call, any of your board members, to chat about that formula and how those things are worked. I know that when we switched from the BEP formula to the TISA formula, it added $50 million that was not there previously to help educate our children in our county. I also know that the TISA formula was meant to help follow the students so that those kids can go to a different school if their parents choose to send them to a different school. So in my perspective, this is not a charter school issue as much as it is a funding issue in general. And I know that we have a whole year before, and if we were to approve Novus, for them to open, where we can further go into detail with that on our state reps and try and get some things switched or changed or look at some other options as well. So please understand that those are things I think several of us are working on and looking into and trying to get accomplished. I just wanted to state, in my viewpoint, this is a funding issue, not a charter school issue.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Young, would you repeat your motion, please?
The motion is to deny based on the fiscal impact of Rutherford County Schools.
And we have a second. Have a roll call vote.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Tidwell,
No.
Mrs. Darby,
No.
Mrs. Maxwell,
Yes.
Ms. Sharp,
No.
Mrs. Rosales,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton,
Yes.
4-3.
4-3. Motion passes to deny. Mr. McCann, I think now you're up.
While you're pulling that up, I'm just curious, do you always carry a clicker in your pocket? Do you always carry the clicker in your pocket? I do not. That was pretty impressive. That was.
There we go. Okay, thank you, board members. Good evening again, and thanks for the opportunity to share the current progress of our 2 authorized charter schools that are set to open their doors next month. Springs Empower Academy and American Classical Academy Rutherford. As you know, those are both approved charters and authorized by this district, and they are hopefully ready to go next month. But I just wanted to fill you in on where they are in that process. So here's what I'm going to go through with you tonight. I'm going to give you an update on their facilities, an update on their enrollment numbers, staffing numbers, and the updates there, and I'm also going to give you an update on where they are with their pre-opening process. There's a checklist that they have to meet items throughout the year to be ready to open, and I'm going to update you as to where they are with that, okay? All right, let's start out with facilities. First of all, Springs Empower Academy. There's a picture of the Boys and Girls Club in Smyrna because they have a signed lease agreement in place to utilize that facility during the day. If you're not sure where that is, it's at 128 Culbertson, which is right across the street from Thurman Francis Arts Academy, right behind Smyrna Middle, right behind Smyrna Primary, and right up the hill from David Urey. So it's a pretty congested traffic area when you have 3 schools that dismiss at 2:30. They have altered their hours to be a 6:45 to 2:15 school, so they will start their dismissal process at 2:15. They have to be out of the facility regardless by 2:30, so the Boys and Girls Club can run their aftercare program. Their hope is that most of their students will stay and participate in that aftercare program, thus limiting some of that dismissal traffic. But it remains to be seen what the congestion is going to be like there in the afternoons. But we'll just monitor that and see if we need to adjust. The building itself needs very minimal renovations. I've toured it, and they're also not allowing very many renovations for the charter school. They're not allowing much to be done. There will be some designated classroom space, but the open environment of that building really is conducive to the Montessori approach anyway, which is what Springs has adopted as their instructional plan. Students will be allowed to move around a lot with a lot of freedom, and that is commensurate with a Montessori program. Okay? And be sure and stop me if you have any questions as I go along. Security equipment upgrades are necessary for this building. They don't have a buzzer necessarily to get in.
They don't have Raptor yet, but all of that has been ordered, and it's planned to be installed. They have sent me the invoices for that and the receipts, so it's all in progress right now. They have contacted law enforcement as well to conduct their safety walkthrough with them. They're working on their emergency operations plan to make sure the building is secure and safe, and they will get that completed in time. My only concern for the building itself is the food service process. They have a very, very small kitchen area in that building, and the budgetary concerns for Springs are going to limit what they can offer in the way of food. It may only be some shelf-stable items, because they really don't have the personnel or the ability to do any cooking on their own in this facility, I'm afraid. But they have contracted with a food service provider company to either bring in already prepared meals or some of those shelf-stable items. And I think they're going to go with those pre-prepared meals. So I think it's going to work out okay. All right, let's take a look at American Classical Academy, and this is pretty recent, honestly. Here's a picture of their facility at 2 Ingram Boulevard in the Laverne Industrial Park. They have purchased the Ingram 2 building. It's part of the old Ingram Entertainment Complex that Ingram is no longer utilizing. I have not seen the final purchase agreement. They've not provided that to me yet, but they are in the building as of last week. I know that's very much last minute, but they just now got into the building. And what they've done is they've requested a temporary certificate of occupancy, and the fire marshal has come in and inspected and approved that to renovate the right-hand side of that facility as you're looking at it from the outside with temporary wall structures to build temporary classrooms while they do the permanent renovations on the right-hand side of the building, which will be the permanent school itself. Okay? So really all they need to do now is install some temporary walls to get those temporary classrooms set up, which I understand the fire marshal has approved. I haven't seen that yet either, but that's the understanding that I have. Now, it's a great facility, honestly. Ingram has left them with plenty of existing furniture, desks, shelves, storage, trash cans, push carts, you name it. The facility itself is in great shape too. It really is an ideal spot for a charter school. Again, my concern is, can they get it ready in time? Their first day with students is August the 12th. So they're really going to be pushed to get that done. Already, though, the outside of the building has bulletproof glass on all the windows, so it is a safe environment. You have to buzz to get in. They have not submitted their EOP yet, but I know they're working on it. They've not done their safety walkthrough. They have reached out to Lieutenant Garner to establish a law enforcement partnership to do that safety walkthrough. They just have not gotten that completed yet. Okay. Any facilities questions for me? Again, my biggest concern for ACAR is that they get the temporary classrooms up in time to start. But again, that's a pretty quick process, I understand, but that can be done. And the crews were already in there last week to begin that work. Enrollment updates, okay? Right now, Springs Empire, and they're very similar if you'll notice. Springs Empire is sitting at 208 students. They have one student that's still on their roster, that's a Murfreesboro City School student. They've not taken that one off the roster yet, but all the rest of them they have. ACARS is sitting at 234, but 19 of those are Murfreesboro City School students, but they know those have to come off the rosters as well. If you remember the projection, Springs Empower planned to open this year with 240, so clearly they're not there yet. And American Classical planned to open with 340, so they're right now a good bit short of that. Okay. Any questions about enrollment there? But you look, the numbers are very similar. Kindergarten is the biggest class in both of them, and that's no surprise. But most of the others are. Yes.
Can you walk us through Murfreesboro City students with our sponsored schools? What are they allowed and not allowed?
They are not allowed. They have been notified, and that our policy is we do not allow out-of-district students. There was some question early in the process, although I told them this ahead of time. There was some question as to whether or not those MCS students would be truly considered out of district. And yes, our position is that they are out of district because we don't get whatever the city funds for their local portion of the funding. So those kids are typically out of district. Now, would you like me to give you an update on what I know about our non-authorized charter school that's opening, that's authorized by the state, or do you want me to skip over that?
Yes, please.
I can tell you what I know. Again, with Rutherford Collegiate Prep, again, they're not authorized by us, so our information may not be quite accurate and up to date, but their projected enrollment was 765. We use that to determine that initial funding allotment. As of this morning, their governing body maintains that as their enrollment figure, with an extensive waiting list in addition to that. Now, in contrast to that, we did have a meeting with them in early June. Dr. Chastain and I sat down with them, and it was a very positive meeting, and they seemed very willing to be open and share information with us. And at that time, they did. They shared that their current enrollment was actually only 354 Rutherford County students that were on their roster, plus an additional 111 students that were zoned for Murfreesboro City Schools. I requested an update. The principal's not responded to that, and the update I got again from the governing body was that, nope, we're at 765 with a waiting list, but that's also what they told us before that June 13th update. The State Department responded to me by saying, or the Public Charter School Commission responded to me with the fact that they do not have any updates on enrollment at this time, and they won't have any until all the students that are registered get enrolled in their student database system. Okay? Now, here's where the contention kind of comes into play, and this is where our relationship is not as positive as we hoped it was going to be, is, again, Rutherford Collegiate Prep, it does not agree with us that Murfreesboro City School students are out of zone or out of district. State policy now, and this is a fairly new update on state policy, allows for a district to charge tuition for any student that's enrolled in a charter school in their district, but they come from a different district. They're out-of-district students. And again, it's Rutherford County's position that MCS students, and we've met with MCS on this, are considered out of zone. And I'm not talking about students that are dually zoned that can attend either a Murfreesboro City or a Rutherford County school. I'm talking about only those that are zoned in that small pocket of just Murfreesboro City. And at last report, there were 111 of those students. Okay? And our conversation with Rutherford Collegiate Prep last week was that they will not charge them tuition, nor will they pay tuition for those students. So their choices are to either do that or they cannot allow those students to enroll in their school. Now, if their numbers very well may be up to 765. Again, that's over a month old, that 354 figure, but I can't get that confirmed. I've asked for an update, but again, they're not expected nor required to communicate that to us. Okay? Any questions about that?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
So we can't even audit to make sure that these students are Rutherford County students?
No. We kind of have to depend on them until they get enrolled in the state database. Once that state database gets updated, we should be able to tell from there. But again, in good faith effort, they sent us a list by school, the number of students by school that had enrolled with them. They did that. But they just haven't updated that lately.
There's a difference between their numbers and what's in the state database. We can go back after that money.
Well, my numbers, again, are based on what they're telling me. So I don't have access to official numbers. I mean, they told us once that they had 765, then they told us they had 354 plus 111, and now they're saying they have 765 with waiting lists. So again, I wish I had more information than that.
We'll be able to pull it out of EIS. The state will be able to give us out of EIS. I think where my biggest concern is that the 111 MCS zone students or any students that join out of district, despite that being a state board policy that we can and will charge tuition, that's going to be instead used as a PR tactic that Rutherford County Schools is not allowing them to attend. I mean, that's a unfortunate tactic that's already been mentioned, but those students are not zoned for us, and it is our intention to charge that local finance because we're sending the local funding for those students.
We are within the confines of state policy to do that, and the Public Charter School Commission backs us on that. They support our position on that because we're within the confines of the law.
There has to be checks and balances. I I mean, that's in any business. There has to be checks and balances. So. There has to be checks and balances. That's in any business. We've got to make sure that we are getting what we're paying for.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Tidwell?
To answer Coy's question, we've talked to the State Department, and yes, after the true-up, if there's any difference, I mean, you had a conversation about that as well, but if there's any difference, they will take that out of the funds moving forward to the next true-up. So it will be
trued
accurate.
up, regardless of the numbers. What they look like now, if they're not correct, they will be trued up at some point. They will be.
Chairman Bratman.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for my, and I'm sure you have given us this information, but I have slept since then. How many within the 2 charter schools or 3 charter schools have disenrolled from Rutherford County Schools? How many students?
Have changed their mind?
No, have left Rutherford County and have said they're going to one of the charters. What's the total number? Springs,
Well, it's...
ACAR, everybody?
It's
Is it just,
440 plus 354,
because we don't know how many are going, but
700, 800, roughly 800 kids.
800 kids.
Roughly 800 kids.
Those would be Rutherford County Schools zone students, though, not necessarily students who would.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know.
We don't know whether or not they were homeschooled, private school, they're just zoned.
Right.
I just want to know how many have come to us and say they're not coming back.
And Dr. Sullivan, we are tracking that with a specific code so we can pull those numbers as they're doing records requests. It's something we talked about in that meeting with RCP, so we're tracking that and we'll have a number for you.
Thank you.
And honestly, I do have these numbers too, but not right in front of me, I can look them up. But there was a significant portion of those students who are coming from either a homeschool or a private school. So there were students that were not funded that we will never see the funds for, but now we have to pay. Now we have to fund to the charter school. It was a pretty significant number of those.
If we can get that information, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can share that with you. Staffing updates, just to let you know, if you look, they're very similar. Their staffs look very, very similar. I included the number of students in each grade in parentheses there just so you can see the pupil-to-teacher ratios. But both schools have hired 3 kindergarten teachers. They're hiring 2 first-grade teachers, although Springs still has 1 yet to fill. 2 second-grade teachers at both schools have been hired. 3rd grade, they're both hiring 1 teacher. Springs has yet to fill that one. In 4th grade, here's where they differ, 4th and 5th grade just a little bit. ACAR has hired 2 teachers for each of those grades, and Springs has hired 1 teacher for each of those grades. And the numbers are a little higher for ACAR, so that just makes sense. ACAR also has hired a music, art, PE, special ed, and literacy coordinator. They have hired those teaching positions and 2 educational assistants. Springs has not hired any related arts, ELL, SPED, so they've got some work to do there. And they have hired 2 EAs and have 2 more pending. This is what they've reported to me.
They have the related arts positions, they have budgeted and planned to hire, though, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they have to hire ELL and SPED.
Yeah, and PE.
There's no choice.
Yep, and PE.
Right. Now, here's the kicker, is they do have a couple of teachers that they have hired with SPED credentials, special education credentials. However, they're listed in the grade level assigned teachers. They're not listed as separate special education teachers. Whether or not they can shift and move and hire other people, that would be up to them. But they have not specifically designated a SPED, an ELL, or a related arts person at this point. Okay, to update you on where they are in their pre-opening tracker, again, as soon as they're approved, they get a checklist of items that they have to complete in that year 0 time to be ready to open. And I'm going to bring you up to date where they are with items due by July 15th, because that's where we are in the checklist. Springs themselves has 38 of their 62 items marked as complete, done. They have 16 in progress and 8 items not started. Now, it looks a little daunting, but let me just explain. A lot of those items that are in progress or not started are things that are in the works, but they won't be completed until the last minute. Like, if you look at the high priority items on the right, completing the renovations. It's going to take up to the last minute to complete those renovations. ensuring that their SIS and EIS have all required information. You can't complete that until all of your registration is complete. Providing written plans to deliver required services to your special populations. Again, you can't write those plans until you know who those students are and what their required services are. So again, a lot of these things take some time, and it will be right up to the last minute. But those are the critical items for them to get completed. That E-plan and that emergency operations plan, yes, they're required, they're critical. We didn't find out about that until late in the game. Okay, we didn't think they had to submit those in their first year, or at least as early as they have to submit that EOP. And also, creating the EOP, you have to be in a facility to write your emergency operations plan. And if you look at ACAR, that's also a concern for them, that EOP. They just got in their facility, so they're going to be hoofing it to get all this stuff done. They have 18 of their 46 items complete. 18 items are in progress, 10 have not started. Again, my concern for them is the facilities renovation, getting it done in time. Now, theoretically, what can happen if they don't get all these items complete? They can be forced to delay their opening. And that's the stumbling block that I would see for them, is that the facility is just not ready. I think they'll get it done, but that is a concern. Now, typically what happens in that checklist is when you get to school starting time, and if there's some items that have not been completed, they get a deadline to get that done. And this is what's indicated in our pre-opening checklist that we gave them, and this is patterned after the State Charter School Commission as well. We pattern our checklist directly after them, we take it directly from them, and they do the same thing, and I've talked to them about this, is you give them a deadline of December to get all these items done, and if they're not complete, they can be closed immediately. So I'm not thinking we're going to go that route at all. I think they'll get it done. And you got me to stay on them about it. That's a big part of my job, and I have been. They're tired of getting emails from me, but that's all right. I don't care. They've got to get this stuff done. And if they don't get it done by December, they can be forced to close their doors immediately. Okay? Just so we understand how that works. One last task for me to complete with them, though, before they admit students, is I have to conduct a final pre-opening walkthrough prior to that first day of school with them. It's conducted by me, the coordinator, and other possible RCS personnel, like I've already talked to Mr. Lee about engineering and joining me for that, because I need their expertise there. Safety can join me for that, too, because I will need them as well. And that walkthrough is guided by a state-developed checklist of items in 5 areas. Number 1, I have to look at their facilities readiness and signage. Do all the doors close and lock? Do they have furniture in place for the kids? Do they have desks and chairs? Do they have no smoking signs? Do they have drug-free school signs? Do they have McKinney-Vento signs? These are all required, and they have a list of signage that they have to have. The second area is in emergency operations. Are all the exit doors marked clearly and free where kids can exit in an emergency? Are the fire extinguishers up to date, the inspections? They have to have all that in place. Record storage, I have to look at what their plan is for storing student and staff records. Can they lock it up and keep it safe and secure? They have to show me that. Then they have to show me what they're doing for food service and food prep. Transportation is the 5th area, but that's not applicable to either one of these charter schools because they're not offering transportation, either one of them. But I will be asking them for their traffic flow pattern. I want to see what their plan is to route traffic. Okay?
Oh, I can wait. One of the questions I had, ran into a constituent over the weekend, and I think they know someone who works at one of the charter schools, and they were concerned about the information that they were collecting, some of the demographic information. And my understanding is that they collect that information just like other public schools do, because
that's correct.
Public charter schools, and that has ties to our funding for TISA.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Matter of fact, Springs Empower Academy is using our same enrollment platform in Skyward, so all the forms are exactly the same. And American Classical had to submit to me their list of questions that they ask on the enrollment document, and I didn't see anything that was out of line there.
I'd seen one of their Facebook posts. Please go out to Skyward and make sure you do your stuff. So, thank you.
Can I answer any other questions for you?
Anyone else have a question? Thank you so much, Mr. McCann.
You'd be welcome to come join me for one of those walkthrough tours if you'd like.
Just let us know.
Let us know.
Thank you.
We'll look at number 3, approval of fiscal year 2025 consolidated funding application. Fiscal year 25 consolidated funding application that encompasses consolidated admin Title I, Part A, Title I, Part D, Title II, Part A, Title III, IDEA, Part B, and IDEA. Preschool was submitted to Tennessee Department of Education on June 24, 2024. These federal funds will be sent to supplement district funding in the 2024-2025 school year. Do we have comments or questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 10, legal.
Out-of-county transfer student, the board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was expelled for possession of a THC vape, their second offense. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny. However, the board can admit or deny the admission of this out-of-county transfer student.
Do you have any questions? I will entertain a motion.
Move to deny.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes to deny admission. Number 2, human resources.
All right, number human resources, new job description for benefits coordinator. Personnel and Student Services Departments requesting the approval of a new job description, benefits coordinator. This position will perform a variety of tasks associated with coordination and administration of employee benefits and insurance program offerings within our district. Recommended motion to approve a new job description for the benefits coordinator. This position will be funded through GP funds and is a new position, budgeted position in the 24-25 school year.
Questions? Mr. Runyon, you have something? Yes, sir.
Yes, I wanted to amend my answer last night that Ms. Darby asked for the salary range for that. It is actually an R117 position. Oh, was it Ms. Sharp? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it was one of you two. I'm sorry. It's an R117 position, and it ranges from 86 to 108. So.
And this is already in our budget, right?
Correct.
Okay. Other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 2.
And Ms. Sharp mentioned this last month, so here's our update and also passing it, so thank you for bringing it to our attention. Stellar Therapy Services contract renewal for Medicaid reimbursement. The Stellar contract for the nursing Medicaid reimbursement program in Rutherford County Schools is up for annual renewal. Their administrative fee is 20% of total revenues received. Medically necessary coverage services in the IEP or IHP that are ordered by the primary care physician or treating provider may be reimbursed. We have the services below. This past year, we generated $75,154. The total revenue, though, collected after that 20% administrative fee was $60,123.
Questions on this or comments? Thank you for bringing that up too, Ms. Sharp. That was a good question. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 12, special education.
All right, several special education job description updates. First, special education department's requesting to update the job description for special education liaison to include the title of special education coach. The updated job description for special education coach includes revised language and updated job description. Recommended motions to approve the updated special education coach job description with the revised language and updated job description as presented.
Do I have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 2.
Special Education Department's requesting to update the job description for classified sign language interpreters to sign language education staff. The updated job description for the sign language education staff includes revised language and updated job description. Recommended motions to approve the updated job description for sign language education staff with the revised language and updated job description as presented.
Do I have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 3.
Special Education Department's requesting an updated job description for certified sign language interpreter position to include revised language and updated job description. Recommended motions to approve the updated job description for certified sign language interpreters with the revised language and the updated job description as presented.
Do I have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 4.
Special Education is requesting the approval of the extended contract for homebound services for the 24-25 school year. Rutherford County has 3 dedicated homebound teachers and works with a third-party contractor to meet the homebound services for our students. However, there are times during the school year when these services cannot be met by either group. The extended contract option will allow Rutherford County to continue serving our students during times when the 3 dedicated homebound teachers or third-party contractor cannot meet those needs. IDEA funds will be utilized for these contracts. Recommended motions to approve the extended contract for homebound services for the 24-25 school year.
Anyone have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Our motion passes. Number 5.
We are looking for a special education requesting the approval of lead special education teacher stipends for the 24-25 school year. Each school will receive $1,000 for a lead special education teacher stipend. The school may decide to split the position between 2 special education teachers. Will provide $500 to both lead special education teachers. Stipends will be paid per semester in December and May during the 24-25 school year. GP funds will be utilized for these stipends. Recommended motion is to approve the lead special education teacher stipends for the 24-25 school year.
Do you have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion carries.
All right, next one we have is the Special Education Department is requesting to reallocate funds from 14172 to 2189 unfilled Special Education Department positions to fund 14171 200 116 to provide additional school level support with an additional itinerant special education teacher and a vision teacher for the 24-25 school year. Recommended motions to approve the reallocation of funds as presented.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Ms. Bratton.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Sullivan, how are we looking on our special education as far as filling like staffing?
I have an update for you on Monday because we had our principals meeting today and we'll be doing a survey of what other openings we have over the next couple of days.
Yeah, no, that's when we always kind of lag in, so hopefully.
It is, and I don't envision that being any different, unfortunately.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Our motion passes. Number 13, engineering and construction.
So this is on tab 5. First, request for a drama band storage building at Eagleville High. Principal Tim Pedigo is requesting to use school funds to purchase a 12-by-20 storage building to be used by the school's drama and fine arts department. The cost for this building is $6,900. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Recommended motion is to approve the storage building as presented.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 2.
Request for a football scoreboard replacement at Oakland High School. Principal John Marshall is requesting to install a new scoreboard for the football stadium. The anticipated cost for this project is $200,000. This request will be fully funded by the school and at no cost to the board. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Recommended motion is to approve the Oakland High School scoreboard request as presented.
Questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Who gave me the second? Okay. Mr. Young. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 3.
All right, number 3, I need to make a little bit of a change to. I'm hoping that it's already taken place right now. The third request that is listed, I'm going to skip that. So it says the third request is for new fencing that is needed with the construction of the new public health and safety building and has an anticipated cost of $10,000. That will be removed from my recommended motion. So a member of the PBA, Tucker Markham, contacted me today and said that he would take care of that for us because I was not able to get a letter today. And so,
Okay, so we strike the third
if
request.
something changes during their meeting today, I will bring that straight back to you.
We'll
in
come
August.
right back.
But,
Okay, so please strike that.
he said
from your
somebody will
motion.
take care of it tonight.
All right, so would you read it, leaving that out, please, Dr. Sullivan?
Request for fence and concrete work at Walter Hill Elementary. Principal Laura Heath has 2 requests for additional fencing and concrete sidewalks. The first area is to increase the play area for additional classes and students with an anticipated cost of $9,500. Second is fencing and sidewalks to enhance the safety on Jefferson Pike for the crossing guards, an anticipated cost of $2,500. Going through all these projects will be funded through funds approved in the Fund 177 fund for Walter Hill School. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Recommended motions to approve the fencing and concrete request for Walter Hill Elementary as presented, and again, not including number 3.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion passes. Number 4.
Request for an Eagle Scout project at Laverne Lake Elementary. Principal Paige Johnson is requesting the construction of 4 benches for their courtyard through an Eagle Scout project with Scout Kaylor Hidden. Engineering has worked with numerous Eagle Scout projects in the past and finds them to benefit the school and the students. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Recommended motion to approve the LLE request for benches by the Eagle Scout program as presented.
Questions?
Move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion carries. Number 5.
Request for concrete work at McFadden School of Excellence. Principal Clark Blair is requesting to install concrete in the courtyard of the school to provide usable student engagement space. The cost for the project is budgeted at $10,500 and will be funded by the School Activity Fund and Fund 177. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Recommended motions to approve the concrete request for McFadden School of Excellence as presented.
Thank you. Do I have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Caleb Tidwell, second that. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion carries. Number 6.
All right, number 6, and we had a presentation last night. Request from Murfreesboro Police for Central Magnet. Ryan Lawrence is a crime analyst unit supervisor at Murfreesboro Police Department. Part of their role includes supervision of Murfreesboro Police Department's real-time crime center. The department's requesting permission for Flock Safety to install a Raven, a gunshot detection device, on Central Magnet School's property. Installation of this device will assist MPD officers in responding to incidents of shots fired, leading to faster response times, increased chances of quickly locating potential victims, improved ability to locate and preserve evidence, and increasing solvability. The location requested is shown in the drawings provided by the manufacturer, and that is at the back of the building. Engineering Construction sees the benefit to the city with this request, but we did have concerns with location and appearance. With these concerns, we still have no objection to the request. It would require an easement to be provided to the city. The recommended motion is to approve or deny the request from the City of Murfreesboro Police Department as presented. And I'd also like to thank our staff, and I see Chief Bowen back here as well, and for the timeline that it takes us to get things approved. I think that needs to be noted in working together as two government entities for the same purpose.
Thank you. I will entertain, unless someone has a question, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion to approve the request from the City of Murfreesboro. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Anyone wishing to abstain? Motion carries. Number 14. We've just had that.
Yep.
We've just had insurance. All right. Number 15, financial report.
Did that last night.
You did. Number 16, director's update.
So several things today. Our principals have been back for a little bit over a week, but we had a good but extremely lengthy and tiresome day of almost 7 straight hours with a working lunch of going through all kinds of things to get our school year operational. Principals and teachers get excited when their kids come back, but for us running the district, we get excited when our principals are back. And so we appreciate them being back. And continuing with that, Curriculum and Instruction has our summer summits next week at Blackman Middle School. Correct? Blackman Middle? Right. That's Tuesday and Wednesday? Tuesday and Wednesday. Yep. So that is where we bring most of our teachers back and start doing lots of training. We do lots of informational sessions to make sure we're ready to start the year. Dr. Martin is not here. She is with Stewart's Creek High School, who is performing at Belmont tonight. So we'll have a report on that at our next board meeting. As Ms. Sharp mentioned, we will be with TSBA starting tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. I will be there starting on Friday. I am presenting for the Tennessee School Board Association Superintendent's Academy tomorrow and have a 4-hour session on school facilities. Doesn't that sound like an awesome thing to talk about for 4 hours? It's going to be great.
Hope you have lots of jokes.
Yeah, I'm going to try. And I'm their last session too, so it is great timing. Last, in August, and I'll try to get through this, we were supposed to do a scholarship in Declan's honor, my oldest son, in May. We'll do that in August before our students go away for the fall semester, because that was for rising seniors. And before anybody asked, it was something that the board approved me to do last year. And that is something that is a personal thing for me. It has absolutely nothing to do with because I had another question will come up, any funding that was raised or anything in Asher's memory is truly something that was out of my salary for this last year to honor Declan. In the future, we'll probably be merging the two, but we'll be honoring some of our students at the August 8th board meeting. So and I will do my best to get through that meeting. So, yep.
This is for the Declan
scholarship.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We're now in general discussion. And Ms. Rosales, I did ask you to repeat the information from last night that you gave us about the nonprofit. Could you say it again? I want to make sure everybody hears that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bratton. So I don't know if most of you guys know, but my family and I, we've had a nonprofit called Breakthrough Tennessee, and we've had this nonprofit incorporation since 2016. And this year, we're going to be doing our 3rd annual backpack giveaway. It'll be at Blackman High School from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., and we're actually going to be donating 600 book bags. Last year, we gave close to 500, and the year before that, we gave close to 400, so we're increasing every year, which is exciting. So if you know anyone that's of need, please let them know that on July 25th, that's a Thursday, at Blackman High School from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., we'll be doing the donations for 600 book bags. And then we're also going to be doing our annual event in Davidson County, the same thing, the backpack giveaway, and that'll be July 27th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, till noon on July 27th at Temple Baptist Church, and that's in Old Hickory, Tennessee. So if you know anyone that lives in Davidson County and is in need of school supplies, please let them know. It's something that I started, and I'm really passionate about education, and it started with doing coupons because I was trying to get out of debt. And by the way, couponing does work because I got out of debt doing that. And I bought school supplies enough to cover the first year for 30 kids. And then it's just built and built and built. And then now it's grown into this organization where we do also toy giveaways during Christmas. And this year is going to be a big, big giveaway. So thank you so much for allowing me to share that.
Ms. Maxwell, I know you had something.
Yes, I wanted to make sure that I gave a big shout out and a thank you to Siegel High School. Last Friday was the last day of Camp Wonder for special needs high school age students, 2024. It was the largest number of students we've ever had. We had 20 kids. They had a great time. Discovery Center is a wonderful partner. It was Olympics themed. We had a mini horse come over in the afternoon. They had the assistant band director, Mr. Blake, arranged for the percussion band. They were having their band camp. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if they could come in and do some, so they played a couple songs for our students, and they really enjoyed that. And then the last day, they had a wonderful celebration at Discovery Center. But I just want to thank Larry Creasy and Siegel High School. The room space was perfect. The drop-off was perfect. It really was conducive to a great week of camp, and we're looking forward to next year, 2025.
Thank you. And, okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Exciting things going on at Laverne High School. I ran into the welding teacher at Laverne High School, and I would like to say thank you, Dr. Chastain, and the CTE staff for all the work that they've done this year on the first year welding program. It's exciting. I understand the second year is going to be even better. And when I spoke to, I'm going to call him Coach Bowers now, because more on that in a minute, but he said he had a student literally that had been making rails. He was so talented that his dad bought him welding equipment for his house. So not only is he doing it at school, he's doing it at home, but he's done these rails, these ornate handrails, and he said they were probably along the lines of $1,000. I'm trying to get pictures so everybody can see them, but they're loving the welding program at Laverne.
Excellent.
On top of the welding program, Coach Bowers has now started an archery team. So some of y'all may know him. He was at Blackman because that's where his students, his two children were, and they were, I think, state champions there. So I think his daughter was one of them. I'm not sure about this last year, but we are looking for a sponsor for the shirts, the archery shirts for the team. So and a few other things. It's about $1,000. So if anybody wants to sponsor that, reach out to Coach Bowers, and let's get those kids some shirts.
That's great. Dr. Sullivan, want to talk to us about August 10th?
Yeah, so Walter Hill has given everybody an invitation for Saturday, August 10th from 11 to 1. That is their 100 years celebration. Walter Hill is special to me. That's where I went to school, kindergarten through 8th. The school, when Siegel Middle School opened, became only kindergarten through 5th grade. My brother's younger than me, and he just happened to be able to take their uniforms with them their 8th grade year. And so I gave my home jersey to Miss Heath today, and if she loses it, then I might cry more tears than ever, so she knows to keep it very close. But that'll be a pretty neat thing on August 10th.
Walter Hill, very special to many of us.
She emailed me yesterday and said, do you happen to know what jersey number you were? I said, I will bring you the uniform.
Oh, we will display it.
Yep.
We'll put it on a model. Any other general discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
after being contacted by several constituents concerning the funding mechanism for our charter schools and even possible vouchers coming, I do have a motion I'd like for the board to consider.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we initiate the process of knowing our best options as a board for the best legal process in requiring our state to fund charter schools that are not approved by the Board of Education of Rutherford County.
Could you read that again loudly? I'm sorry, Mr. Young, you speak softly. Could you read it again?
So I would like to make a motion that we initiate the process of knowing our best options as a board for the best legal process in requiring our state to fund charter schools that are not approved by the Board of Education in Rutherford County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Yes, sir. Mr.
Bratton.
Bidwell?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious as to, we can look into our legal options at any time, and we have attorneys working for us, so I don't know why this is a voting matter.
Other comments or?
Brought something up similar to this before, and it was voted down, so I just feel like this is something this board needs to know, and I want to know what our options are.
Okay.
Ms. Bratton?
Yes, ma'am.
If we're serious about fixing the funding mechanism, then we need to be serious about how we're going to go about it. We can sit here and talk about that we're working on it. I've called to just as many people and spoke with different representatives outside of this county, spoken to other people that are in the department, and at the end of the day, it's not going to be changed because this is an issue that is a legislation issue, and it's not going to mean that it's going to get fixed at a legislation level. Also, I would like to say that we should have a say-so whether we approve a charter school or not. And if it does get appealed, which is, and the state decides to approve them, then at that point, I do believe that the state should pick up the cost, because right now, in this year, we're having to go into our fund balance. Isn't that correct, Dr. Sullivan? We're having to go into our fund balance to take the difference with what we're having to share the cost of the 3 charter schools that are coming. I'm not against charter schools, and I do believe that we should give parents options. I ran on that. I haven't changed my position. But the funding aspect is not conducive to be a fair even playing field. And even though they do a true up, we still have to wait a year to get the funding back of what we lost the year before, because Rutherford County Schools, the way that we operate is based on the enrollment of the year before. And it was what was stated in that letter on June 27th. And so, irregardless of how it comes about, our budget for 2024 and 2025 is based on an enrollment of 50,000 students. It doesn't take into account the 1,200 new students that we're going to receive in the upcoming 2024, 2025. And then with that, we're having to share that cost to be able to afford the other stuff. And right now, let's just be honest, there's some board members who are ready to take the plug on pre-K. And because they're saying that pre-K is costing too much. And if we don't do something, we're going to have to, some positions may be cut because if we don't figure this out, and we're having to still need to buy school properties, to buy land to build the schools, the funding, where is it going to come? The only option we have right now is to increase property taxes. I don't want to increase my property taxes, and I don't want to cut positions, because I believe that our staff are valued, and we have a good district because we have the right people, and we pay them what they're supposed to be paid, because they're giving us the quality that we need to have our kids to teach them. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, Ms. Williams, did you catch that, the motion? Okay.
We can do that. Okay. Ms. Sharp?
Thank you. What is our fund balance?
I haven't checked it in the last couple of weeks. I've been busy trying to close out, the books itself. I do know that the fund balance was at about 85 million whenever we passed the budget at the beginning of the year. But where it stands right now, we haven't done all the accruals and everything for payroll, so the year hasn't been completely closed out yet, so I don't have the accurate number for everything. But I do know whenever we were working on the budget, and when y'all approved it, it was right around $86 million.
Has the county closed their books yet?
No.
So that's why county hadn't closed yet.
I've got a few more. So if we, look, us trying to sue the state is not conducive to get the state to work with us to help us with the funding. If we don't have the money currently, why are we going to spend the money on an attorney to work this out? Doesn't make sense to me, but that's just me.
Anyone else?
Ms. Bratton.
Whoa. Mr. Tidwell.
I've already voiced against this, and I just want to go over a couple of things that you're certainly not going to get help from the state by suing the state. That's not how you build relationships. If you think there's even a path that we can get some help, then I think having a little bit of patience instead of getting out in front of our skis here is going to be more useful us moving forward. But I also just think, there's several things that are interested in this, and I've been kind of keeping quiet on this, but there's a lot of aspects to this. So one aspect is that, and I mentioned this multiple times, that this does help with growth. There's no denying that. If you want to talk about less kids in portables, this helps with that as well. If you want to talk about what it costs for us to build elementary school, $60 million, they're building these facilities themselves. And so there's lots of opportunity. If you want to talk about the difference that the state already gave us between BEP and the TISA formula and that extra $50 million, add all of that up. Like, don't just look at just the box of, hey, this is what the charter funding, it's a little bit unfair. If a new LEA opens up, guess what they're going to use? They're going to use their projected enrollment. You just don't have new LEAs opening up everywhere. So there's a reason the way this is designed. Now, there's opportunity, and we're not just sitting up here just talking. We're not just up here just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We are actually having these conversations with state representatives, with state senators, with people at the Department of Education. And so all this does is start to retract all that when it's not going to make a difference. You're going to end up, if you end up making this decision to sue the state, then you're going to end up losing, wasting the funds, and it's just a PR stunt. It's not going to work out in RCS's favor. If you look at the bundle as a whole of what the state has given us, it is well above the $8 to $11 million. Also, I think it's worth noting, besides breaking down what the actual enrollment numbers are and what it's actually going to cost, which I think is lower than what it's been projected. I've seen that number drop down a few times. But also, beyond that, we're dipping into our savings. A savings that we're only required, that's what fund balance is for those out there listening to us, a savings that we're only required to keep, what, 3%, Brian? I know that the county commission wants us to keep more, but what are we required by law to keep?
For the state to approve our budget, it's 3%.
3%. All right, we're well above those numbers. And this is not lost money as much as it is even in the worst case scenario. So we're removing the extra funds they gave us, we're removing the facility costs that it saves us, we're removing the less kids in portables, we're removing the less growth positions we're going to have to hire, we're removing all of that out of the equation. Just take it all out. I'm just going to give you the most favorable position that you believe that you have. You take all of those things out. Still, you are borrowing from your savings for a 1-year time period. Do I like that? Is that my favorite way? It's not my favorite way. I would like for us to get some help from the state, and I think there is a potential way to do that. I provided a solution. Others up here have mentioned different things. I don't know if their solutions are the same, but I think there is a reasonable option there. So I would ask you guys to please consider not retracting back. Give us a little bit of time, and if the state just don't want anything to do with us and there's no response, then you might have something that you still not gonna have anything to stand on because they're making the rules. But I'm saying let's build on these relationships. Let's do good. And let's do good for RCS and our taxpayers, people that are funding us, the parents. They have said they want this. They're filling up these schools. So I just think there's potential here. And that's not a shot at anybody on the board. I respect the board members up here and their opinions. I'm just asking for a consideration of some additional facts and what this is going to look like going forward.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a few things there that you made a comment about that is not accurate. We did surveys about charter schools. There was a favorable number saying they did not want charter schools. We don't have the money to operate Rutherford County schools. We have to fight, beg, borrow every year with our county commission, our funding body, just to get funded. They've asked us 2 years in a row now to not come asking for any money. We keep building on the schools and making our schools larger than they should be, when we should be building new schools. I'm in favor of smaller community schools. The county commission funding body tells us we can't build them. They can't fund them. So we have a funding problem. Charter schools will add to that funding problem. Anytime you add a LEA in Murfreesboro City Schools, they're good partners with us, but still, they cost us money. We have to send them a check every year. The charter schools will be the same way. It'll be things that we can't afford. Portables. I've seen portables out here at these schools, and this was one thing I ran on. I wanted to get rid of portables. We are the only school district I know of in the state that runs with as many portables as we do. And some of them has been there for 25 years, falling apart. I wouldn't even send my dog to some of these portables. And you guys, don't want to support that?
Ms. Bratton?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I want to say that, yes, we got TISA funding, and it was around $45 million. But Dr. Sullivan, didn't we use a chunk of it to take us out of debt, because we were in debt the year before, so that we could balance the budget for 2023-24, which we presented before the county commissioners by having a balanced budget and using the same maintenance of effort, because a chunk of that was used to pay the debt that we incurred the year before. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And haven't you been mentioned that if something doesn't change in regards to the revenue of what we're getting to in our Rutherford, that's funding our Rutherford County schools, that the budget for 2025 and 2026, we're possibly looking at raising the maintenance of effort, going before the county commissioners and asking them for more maintenance of effort?
Yes, and they're aware of that request.
And they're aware of that. And that also doesn't change the fact that in spite of the fact of the growth, that we're having to still build an elementary school, which we've got funding for. We have land that can put 2 schools, a middle school and elementary school, but we do not have the funding yet locked in for the middle school to build, correct?
Correct.
And then we're also having to be looking at getting land to somewhere in the north end so that we can build a high school, and we do not have the funding for the land, to buy the land today, or the funding to actually build the school on that property, whatever that property is. Is that correct? Do we have the funds for that?
No, we do not have the.
No, we do not. So we may have a fund balance, but we do not have the funds to pay what we need right now, which is we still need to build a middle school. We don't have the money locked in yet from the county commissioners, or even we have it right now, to build a new middle school. We do not have the funds to buy land somewhere in the north end and to build the school as well. So, and then next year, we're looking at raising our property tax, looking at raising our maintenance effort. So what's going to happen at the end of the day when we go before the county commissioners? They're going to have to be looking at to cover the cost of this stuff if we're going to raise our property taxes, because we still need. And if they don't raise our property taxes, we're looking having to cut somewhere. And some people have already said they're willing to let go of pre-K. That's going to be happening, and possibly having some layoffs, because we're not going to have enough money to fund and cover everything. Because at the end of the day, we still need to buy land at the north end, build a school. We still need to build a school in the middle school. So those are costs that have incurred in the past years that I have not been here this whole entire time. But because of the growth, that's where we're at. That's the reality. And this motion is not to go right ahead and start litigation. This motion is to empower our attorney, who we pay. We're paying him already to be on the budget. So we're not asking more money for a legal to look into this. It's actually getting our representative, our board attorney, to look into our options. It's not saying today we're going to go to litigation. It is saying we're doing our due diligence to see what options we have, and this is a viable solution. And it's not saying we're going to pull the plug and go to litigation. This is to say we're going to look into our options. That's all that this is.
Ms. Maxwell?
I concur with Ms. Rosales. I am not voting tonight to go into litigation. That's not what this vote is. This vote is simply to look at our options, and I am an eternal optimist. I still think that we're going to work this out and we're going to fix this. Because I know there are some pieces, moving pieces, and I'm not voting for it to go into litigation. I'm friends with most of our delegation. So no, I'm not voting to go and sue the state. I'm voting to explore, and let's just start finding out what we can do. And we do have an attorney. He's already on retainer with us, and I concur with Ms. Rosales.
Mr. Tibble, you have some more?
I mean, you can disguise it however you want to disguise it, but if you are asking to explore options, all you have to do is go ask the attorney to look into it. You don't have to vote on it. It's not a voting matter. So it's either a PR stunt or it's being disguised. Secondly, all the expenses you listed, or that were listed, yeah, there are expenses that are upon Rutherford County. However, if we grew 1,100 students, we'd be complaining about the growth of those 1,100 students. If charter schools take those 1,100 students, whether we saved a position, which I've heard that argument too, saved that position or not, we definitely saved growth positions. So again, none of the facts that I have mentioned are being disputed, and the amount of money that we have received, how we choose to use it is up to us. But that and the facilities costs that these charter schools are spending to take some kids for growth is helping. You cannot deny that. So for me, again, back in the same place, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think it's good for the board. I don't think it's a good move. I know you mentioned a survey.
Old question.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I mean, he's going on a rant over here that we've already heard.
There's a call to question.
Hold on just a moment. We have had a call for question. We do have to vote on a call for question. Roll call vote on a call for question.
Mr. Tidwell?
Just to be clear, call to question. If I vote in favor of call to question, then I'm stopping speech. If I vote no, I'm allowed to continue if we don't have a 2/3. I just want to make that clarity since that was an issue at a previous thing. I'm voting no.
Okay, hold on just a minute. Is that what you were?
That's correct.
Okay,
I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
okay.
No.
Mrs. Darby?
No.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes?
Ms. Sharp?
No.
Mrs. Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Young? Mrs. Bratton?
Yes.
4-3.
We do not have a majority vote. Is that correct?
Ms. Bratton, can I continue?
Then discussion will continue. Ms. Darby has
You
not.
did just have a majority.
Did.
It has to be two.
It's 2/3.
Oh, 2/3.
Gotcha.
Yes, I'm sorry.
My apologies.
Didn't make that clear. 2/3. For question, it has to be 2/3.
Can we let Mr. Tidwell finish, please?
Okay, Mr.
I'm
Tidwell.
ending up. Last point. So there was a mention that the survey came back and the majority of the survey didn't want the charter schools, but yet the people still filled the charter schools. So there's a group that wants to be here. This is helping with all the aspects that I've made. All the points still stand. I think this is not a good idea, guys. I just think it's not a good idea.
Now, Ms. Darby.
I'm just curious, when you talk about exploring legal options to make the state pay for RCP, the state is giving TISA funding for students. So the state is funding RCP. And if you're talking about the potential of suing the state for the way in which they're funding it, you'd have to sue them for the 1,200 new students that we don't receive funding for. You'd have to sue them for the Murfreesboro City students when they transfer over to county that we don't receive funding for. This was my point in saying it's a funding matter, not a charter school matter. But I truly don't believe that pursuing a legal path at this point is the way forward when the majority of these discussions with state reps, with the TDOE, have been happening in the last several months. It's not like it's something we've been trying to accomplish for years and we're just beating on dead doors. I think when our own district, if someone mentions an attorney, that's it, all discussion ceases. We don't speak to our people if somebody mentions an attorney. I don't know how you would expect the state to be much different. So I'm not in agreement with that. I definitely think there are things that need to be explored. I know there are several board members not just talking about working on it, but are actually working on it. I don't think that this is the path that we should be taking. I think that we, as a board, it is our job to represent our constituents, to represent our students and citizens of Rutherford County. Some of our citizens are going to the charter schools. We still have to represent those taxpayers either way. I know personally of a few families where, for whatever reasons, our schools weren't meeting their child's needs, and they feel the charter school will be a better fit. And I have to support that for their family. That's what's appropriate for them. It's not my job to decide what's appropriate for each family and their children. That's their job. But they're all taxpayers, and they're all providing funding towards this. So I just don't think it's the right path to take.
Thank you.
Ms. Bratton?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to say and make it clear, this is not a PR stunt. You may call it that it's PR stunt, but it's not. This is us saying that we want to protect the assets to run our Rutherford County schools, and we're having difficulties and challenges with the budget that's very much constrained because the growth is happening every year. So this is not a PR stunt. You may not agree with it, that's fine. Second of all, we're not suing Rutherford Collegiate Prep, so I hope that's out there clear as black and white. This is about us looking and authorizing our board attorney that is on retainer to look into our legal options of what we are available. And then we come back and decide whether to go forward or not. But I do believe it does behoove us to do our homework here and not just give lip service. We need to do our homework. And the way to do the homework is by authorizing our board attorney to look into what those options are and then collectively make a decision. And if by that point you still are not choosing to move forward with it, then that's your call to make. But right now, I do believe that it does behoove us as to look into that.
Mr. Young.
Madam Chair, one stat I would like to see, show me where charter schools have improved test scores and show me where they have reduced the cost of education. I want to see that data. And we don't know how many of these kids going to these charter schools are homeschool kids. That's not going to help us at all. They're not in our system now.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mine's not connected to charter school, it's fund balance. Fund balance state law is 3%. We talked about the county commission not wanting us to. They would not allow us to go that low. Our teacher payroll is $15.8 million per month. That is 3%. And in the summer, we don't get paid 2 months. And so we do have a healthy fund balance. Now, the board should be commended for that. We can't get anywhere near 3% or we will not be paying bills. So just nothing to do with charter schools, just fund balance.
Fact. Yeah, just fact.
That's next week and I'll be asked about that.
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
I appreciate that point of clarity, but we're not going to be anywhere near that with the amount of money it would cost. But I appreciate the clarity.
Thank you. Ms. Darby?
I just want to say it's a little misleading when we're talking about engaging with our attorney, but then saying we're not looking to sue, because you don't talk to an attorney unless those are options you're looking to explore.
Thank you. Anyone else before we vote?
Ms. Bratton?
Yes.
It is not misleading. We're doing our homework. That's all it is. If you don't want to move forward with it, that's fine. But it is not that we're pulling the plug and saying, this is what we're doing. This is about us doing our homework and doing our due diligence. As a taxpayer, and the whole conversation that you hear a lot of us use and say, well, we're not supporting some type of funding, is because we're being fiscally responsible. This is showing that we're being fiscally responsible because we're doing our homework.
And thank you, John, for that comic relief. We definitely needed that. It's okay. Turn that thing off, John. Anyone else? Mr. Young, would you please repeat your motion? It's been a while since we've heard it.
My motion is that we initiate the process of knowing our best options as a board for the best legal process in requiring our state to fund charter schools that are not approved by the Board of Education of Rutherford County.
Thank you. And I had a second, am I correct? We will have a roll call vote.
Mrs. Rosales?
Yes.
Ms. Sharp?
No.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Tidwell?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Darby?
No.
Mrs. Bratton?
Yes.
4-3.
4-3, the motion passes. Any other general discussion? Yes, ma'am?
Dr. Sullivan, were you able to get that figure? We were talking about the TISA funding last night, and you were talking about the little over $6 million that has to go towards the teacher increases.
Yes.
We actually funded $13.6 million additional in existing teacher pay in the budget.
Last year, or that's what's projected for this?
Well, that's what we budgeted for this year, $13.6 million more this year than what was budgeted last year.
I'm trying.
Okay, so
Would that include growth positions?
Yes, it would, yeah. It's growth position as well. So.
Okay. Anyone
so
else?
that's more than that minimum that they're.
Yeah, more than what you asked last night, more than the minimum.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good question. Anyone else? Before we adjourn, I'm going to ask the board members to come directly to the director's conference room for an executive board meeting. If there are any media inquiries from tonight, please email James Evans. Now, Ms. Darby.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.